had two fantastic races already this weekend from the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship, and race 3 is our partially reversed grid race, so this is bound to be entertaining. Will Heron has inherited the pole position thanks to the random grid draw. It's also allowed championship contender Spike Colbecker to make it onto the front row, and Spike, this is the first time we've seen you right towards the sharp end all weekend. Have things just not quite clicked this weekend?
Yeah, it's been a difficult weekend, but I mean, you get those racing weekends like that. Everyone has them, but we still got one more race to turn that around.
This is a unique place, isn't it? The toe is so crucial. It's also important to have good track position, which you've got now. So, how confident are you can capitalise on that?
I'm really confident. I've been kind of stuck in the mid-pack at the starts, and that's kind of forced me into bad situations, and I didn't make the best decisions and got shuffled back in both races, but now that I have a clean shot in the front, it should be a good race and a good start.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Spike, and let's hope that he can score some decent points. Ivan McCulloch, by the way, third on the grid with race 1 winner Michael Eastwell on row 2, so there are plenty of contenders at the front for the race victory. Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. It should be a fascinating race 3. Top 7 reversed from race 2, so Will Heron and Spike Colbecker on the front row, as Andy mentioned. Then Ivan McCulloch and Michael Eastwell, Jamie Thorburn and Jonathan Brown. Race 2 winner Ross Martin, he shares row 4 with Alan Davidson. It's Morgan Quinn and Micah McPherson, followed by John Spencer and Jamie Sharp, Alan McBurney, and then again, watch for James Clark, and again Rory Smith from the back of the grid after he retired from race 2. So, will we get a third different winner, or will either Michael Eastwell or Ross Martin pick up their second win of the weekend? It's going to be a fast and frantic final race here at Kirkistown. Let's go! Race 3 is underway. Strong start from James Clark, nice tidy getaway. Trying to pull alongside Jamie Sharp if he can as they fan out down towards Debtors Dip. They're almost 3 or 4 abreast around him as they turn into a left-hander, but Colbecker leads. Davidson on the grass in the background. Eastwell into second place. Brown is in third around the outside of Ivan McCulloch. Also Davidson's in there too, and down the escape road goes Jamie Sharp. So must be trying to go down the road, but gets back onto the circuit. No damage, just ran out of room, and back into the race he goes, but down at the back of the field. So Ross Martin now is just on the tail now of, looks to William Heron, who's on the grass. So our pole sitter is having a struggling first lap. He's been passed by Martin and by Jamie Thorburn. He's down to around 7th or 8th position now as they funnel through the chicane for the first time. All line astern. And Jonathan Brown's also lost his momentum too. He's losing places on the run down towards the hairpin for the first time. He's lost him behind Ross Martin. So Michael Eastwell already going down the outside to go for an attack on the lead on Spike Colbecker. There's Ivan McCulloch in third place. And yet again, that man, Alan Davidson, from 8th on the grid up to 4th already, and he's bringing Ross Martin with him. There's Rory Smith also from the back of the grid. He's got Micah McPherson to his right. We're on board with Rory. Snetterton race winner right at the start of the season in April. Looking to try and make a move here. Down towards Colonial again. It's now side by side for second place as Ivan McCulloch tries to go for a move on Michael Eastwell. No change in the top 6 or 7. As still Spike Colbecker leads, but they're all tucked in one big line together. It's almost a 28-wheeled Formula Ford. It's that close. As Jonathan Brown hassles the back of Ross Martin, who in turn is hassling the back of Alan Davidson. Both Davidson and Martin run wide over the curbs. They carry on with the momentum, and again a little bit of a slide through the first part of the chicane as Davidson launches the Mondial over the big curbs, and now on the sprint down towards the hairpin. And here he comes, Ross Martin on the back of the Mondial of Alan Davidson, and again it's side by side for the leaders into the hairpin, but Colbecker once more, for the first time this weekend, is actually in the lead of a race. They turn their way through. Oops, contact! That was Michael Eastwell and Ivan McCulloch making contact with each other. Ross Martin tries to go down the outside, but gets squeezed out by Ivan McCulloch, who is once again back on the tail of Eastwell. Both cars have continued, so it looks to be simply just wheel-to-wheel contact, so they turn down towards Colonial. Colbecker escaping up in the lead. For second place, Ivan McCulloch goes right around the outside at Colonial. He's gone through into second place. He has! So a great move for Ivan McCulloch. That's James Clark going over the grass. He's now got to his right someone in the mix. That's Jamie Thorburn. Oh, and contact again! James Clark gets hit, I think, possibly by Rory Smith, I think that was, or William Heron. So for the third race this weekend, James Clark is hit stripe again. He was spun out in race 1 by Ross Martin. He hit the back of Jonathan Brown and retired from race 2. And in a gutting turn of events, James Clark has been hit again. He's got rear suspension damage and he's out of the race. More cruel luck for James Clark. So Jonathan Brown this time is trying to close in on the leaders. He's now got Ross Martin to his outside as they turn their way out through the hairpin. Also Rory Smith, where's he? He's come up strong from the back of the grid already. Past Jamie Thorburn. This is the view from Ross Martin. Here he comes. Here's the classic bump drafting technique. I'd have thought after taking out James Clark in race 1 he'd be more careful with that, but even that he seems to refine the technique. Colbecker, meanwhile, continues to lead. McCullough in second place, Brown in third. There goes Jamie Thorburn looking for fifth. Again around the outside at Colonial, but he gets squeezed out by this man, Rory Smith, who's in fifth position. Chasing after Ross Martin in fourth, who in turn is chasing after Jonathan Brown in third place. They turn out of the right-hander of Fisherman's. Also getting into the mix now is William Heron in the red and green car after he started in pole. That's a gutting sight. James Clark, simply a poor and disappointing weekend, and in most cases through no fault of his own. Another awful weekend for him, and once again that first National Formula Ford win will have to wait a little bit longer. So Spike Colbecker, his teammate, heads into the hairpin still leading. McCullough in second place, having a great run at his local circuit. This battle for third continues to rage. Still Jonathan Brown from Martin, from Rory Smith, and then Jamie Thorburn and the recovering Will Heron after his poor start from pole position. Ross Martin, here he comes, taking the pit entrance exit there to try and swing a little bit more momentum through the corner. Not quite sure that's allowed, but either way it seems to have worked. And here comes Rory Smith squirming under brakes into the right-hander at Colonial. Third, fourth and fifth, all Constantine are up together. Now the short sprint towards Fisherman's. And here comes Rory Smith now. Once again, he's trying to put the pressure on Ross Martin, who is in a little bit of a catch-22 now. He's got to keep one eye on Jonathan Brown in front, but one eye on Rory Smith behind him. So I think out of those three, the person in the worst position's got to be that man there, Ross Martin, because he's stuck in the sandwich. One car in front he's got to try and attack, one car he's got to defend behind. Whereas the little man in the plum seats has to possibly be Rory Smith, because if Martin makes an attack on Brown and it doesn't work, he can get past the pair of them if he can try and capitalise. Slightly wider entrance, takes an early apex. That's the nature of the corner at the hairpin here at Kirkistown, and that is Jonathan Brown on the grass. He puts two wheels onto the edge of the circuit, exiting the hairpin. That's killed his momentum, and straight through goes Ross Martin to second place, or third, I should say, as that's Ivan McCullough in front of him in second. Here's the leaders, and Ivan McCullough has caught Spike Colbecker. So Ivan McCullough, who's the local specialist around here, has caught championship contender Spike Colbecker in the opening laps of this third race of the weekend. Here's Jonathan Brown back on the tail of Ross Martin, trying to reclaim third place. But watch, because the pair of them are slowly reeling in the top two, who are starting to battle amongst each other. So Ivan McCullough, who had a rather rude retirement in race 1 after he was dumped out by William Heron, who in turn, actually for the record, is still in 7th place at the back of the train. McCullough then forced his way back up through the order, got the benefit of starting on the second row for the reverse grid. And here he goes to the inside line. He's going for it into the hairpin. Ivan McCullough goes for the lead into the hairpin and goes through. Or does he? Can he complete the move if he's quick enough on the exit? Gets the power down on the run off the hairpin onto the pit straight, and he has made it. He's gone through. So Ivan McCullough at his local circuit is leading the national runners here at Kirkistown in the last race, and is ahead of Spike Colbecker. What a turn up for the books. Here he comes down towards Colonial. Colbecker tries to get him back on the outside line, swings back in line. And for third place, it's still Martin versus Brown. Rory Smith can get involved here in a second if he plays his cards right. But Colbecker using all his racecraft to try and get past Ivan McCullough. But Ivan, being the wily old fox that he is, he knows where he's put his car in all the right places and all the right times. And he will know exactly where to put this car to make sure he remains in front for the rest of the race, if possible. Because he knows how competitive a National Formula Ford Championship is, hence the quality of the racing so far this weekend. And it continues to amaze the spectators as we head back down towards the hairpin. Colbecker again closing back up under brakes, right onto the gearbox of the Van Diemen, and here comes the cavalry behind them, because we've now got Martin into the mix in third place. He's in the tow, as is Jonathan Brown, as is Rory Smith. So once again, it's a 5-car scrap for the leader for podium places. This is the shot for Ross Martin. In the tow of both of them, gets a fantastic slingshot from Debtor's Dip, goes one way then the other to the inside line for second place on Colbecker. The championship contenders go side by side into Colonial, and Martin goes through. Brown might follow him through past Colbecker. Colbecker makes it the third Cliff Dempsey car to take to the grass on the exit of Colonial. The two cars go side by side. Brown gets back up the inside into third place. So in the sequence of 2 corners, Colbecker goes from 2nd to 4th. It could be 5th if he's not careful, because there goes Rory Smith in the 45, the car at the back of the field. In through the chicane, Ross Martin crucially into 2nd place now, ahead of his championship rival. This is Rory Smith in the tow of Spike Colbecker down the back straight towards the hairpin once more. We're around about half distance through the race now, as again Smith looks to the outside. A deep entry, looks for the switch back on the exit through the hairpin, all the way through the early apex. He tries to put himself level. It's a decent exit, but he stays in the slipstream, which Colbecker is also benefiting from as he gets the tow from Jonathan Brown. And now they approach towards Debtors Dip once more. This should be quite a fascinating turn of events here as they turn up through Colonial. So now into the right-hander. Still, McCullough leads the way. Still in second place now, Ross Martin harrying the back of the Van Diemen as he comes through. And now Rory Smith now in 5th position, looking for that pass if he can try and make his way into a potential podium place if he can squeeze through. But he's got these two Cliff Dempsey cars forming a bit of a roadblock in front of him here and causing him problems. So into the chicane they go once again. Still, Ireland versus USA versus England as they turn their way through. Jamie Thorburn wide on the exit of the chicane. And here comes Ross Martin to the outside line of Ivan McCullough. He's going for the lead now into the hairpin under brakes. He'll be on the ideal racing line. McCullough breaks that a little bit later onto the apex of the corner. And Martin can't put himself alongside on the switchback. So he has to sit into the slipstream and maybe put himself alongside. And yet again, Ross Martin thinks, right, I'll try my classic bump drafting technique down the pit straight. There he goes through Debtors Dip. Got to be very careful not to keep on pushing him too hard through the kink. Up towards Colonial. They all take the traditional racing line to the edge of the circuit. Nice tight apex through the first part of Colonial. And again, Ross Martin getting a good exit from that sequence. Again, a little shove of the gearbox of Ivan McCullough. I'm not sure Ivor appreciates it too much. He may have not had that too much in Formula 4, but it's certainly a tactic that Ross Martin likes to apply. It certainly does minimise the amount of drag, and it certainly cuts a bigger hole in the air between the two cars in a race in a straight line if they're close together, practically touching. But it does come with its risks, as we saw in race 1 when we saw Ross Martin tag the back of James Clark under braking into the hairpin whilst he was trying to bump draft him. Here in front, we're seeing Jonathan Brown watching these two battling for the lead, as Martin for the second try tries to go back up the inside line. He tries to put himself level. Now, he did this before in race 2 to go down the outside, but I think McCullough's got the acceleration he needs. They're wheel to wheel down the pit straight towards Debtors Dip. Is Martin going to have the guts to go around the outside of Debtors Dip? He's going to try. He's got the inside line for Colonial. McCullough can't do anything about it unless he breaks later, which he does. Just gets the car stopped. I think he's going to hold on to a lead. Yes, he is. So McCullough does finally break Ross Martin's streak, and he can't get through. So Ross Martin now has to sit back and think about another option. But he's also under threat now from Jonathan Brown and now Rory Smith, because look at that, up to 4th place has gone Rory Smith ahead of Spike Colbecker. So the man that was leading at one point is down to 5th, and Spike was saying that his pace wasn't as great as it had been before in other circuits. It is a unique challenge, Kirkistown, but it's why we come here year after year in the National Formula Fords, and it always provides stunning racing. I know we've said that several times, but it really is true. Rory Smith diving down the outside for 3rd place on the other Cliff Dempsey car, but can't make it work. Has to really stand on the anchors, almost outbreaks himself completely. Brown gets back up the inside for 3rd place. Talk about ambitious from Rory Smith. He's really going for it. He wants a podium to finish off what's been a very tricky weekend, with 2 retirements, 1 accident and 1 mechanical problem. Back to the leaders again, Ross Martin putting McCullough under pressure. This is impressive stuff from Ivan McCullough. We know he's a very experienced hand. He's been racing in Formula Fords for years, but he's really using all his experience and guile here to hold off the young chargers of a national championship and showing them exactly what's up. So out of Fisherman, look at them all stacking up behind Ivan McCullough. Martin and Brown and Smith and Colbecker, all of them potential single-seater stars of the future, and they're all being held off by the local specialist. And behind them, look at that, that was Jamie Thorburn, under threat from William Heron, who is equally as ragged, in 7th position. Here's Jonathan Brown watching Ross Martin, thinking about going to the outside line, but McCullough, what this time, puts his car in the middle of the road and prevents any attack to come through from Martin. Here goes Smith down the outside line to possibly try and get back past Brown again, but that might work against him, because here comes Colbecker with a good tow. Down the pit straight towards Debtors Dip. Which way is he going to go? He sticks in the slipstream. Through the flat-out left-handed kink and back towards Colonials. Here we go again. Under brakes, down the outside for 4th place goes Colbecker. But Smith shows him the edge of the road, and Colbecker has to capitulate and slot back into line. But watch for the 2 cars behind. Martin once again performs some bump drafting, but couldn't get it done. He has put a little bit of a slide in Ivan McCullough's pace, so we'll hold and see if it's going to have any effect of the chicane. Good run through the right and the left. And look at Jonathan Brown, the way he's really found some pace in this lap so far. He's right on the tail of the top two. He'll get a double toe from the two cars in front as Martin, for the umpteenth time, goes to the outside line of the sprint down towards the hairpin. Brown gets the toe from one car, then the other, under brakes. And then McCullough holds to the inside line for second place. Here goes Brown on the inside of Martin. Martin may have to let him go if he's not careful. They're going to be side by side on the exit. Now, in this situation here, Martin might get the toe. Martin gives him the thumbs up saying, come on, come with me. Let's see if we can both get past him. So Brown slots in behind Martin. McCullough still leading, incredibly. And no one can get through. Here comes Rory Smith to the outside line of Jonathan Brown for third place. Can he make it stick around the outside of Colonial? Yes, he can. He's gone through. More wheel touching. Brown off onto the grass. There was a little bit of contact. Through goes Jamie Thorburn as a result. So it's all kicking off here at Kirkistown yet again. So now it's Rory Smith up to third place. It is now Spike Colbecker back up to fourth. Jamie Thorburn is fifth. And Jonathan Brown, after being elbowed wide on the exit, now has to contend with a charging William Heron in seventh place. So here goes Ross Martin again. Bump draft down the back straight. Now be careful, Ross. And he's pushing, he's communicating at Alvin McCullough, saying to him, get on with it. Put your foot down, man. Otherwise, the cars behind are going to catch us. But still, they head out of the final corner. Ivan's not fussed. He just keeps his foot in it and goes, look, you want to get past me? Do it the hard way. And Rory Smith is watching this rather bemused, thinking, keep on scrapping, I'll get past if you want. And looking up the inside for a moment, there was Ross Martin into Debtor's Dip, and he backed out at the last minute. I'm glad he did, because that could have been quite nasty if it had been an accident. But now it's a top five once again, nose to tail, all the way through close. Top six, in fact, because I think Jonathan Brown has dropped William Heslop behind in seventh place. He's back onto the tail of this leading five to make it a six-car scrap. Where's William Heron? There he is at the back of the train. Not quite on in the toe of Jonathan Brown in sixth position. But still, they head through the S's once again. Martin all over the curbs in second place, as was McCullough. Here comes Jonathan Brown now. He's in the slipstream, tailing up behind fifth place man Jamie Thorburn. We're closing into the last couple of laps of the race here. Here goes Brown down the outside, looking for the move here into the hairpin. They're all closing up once again. Smith is on the tail of Martin. They come onto the pit straight. I think we might be about to start the last lap of the race. They come up towards the pit straight. The last lap board is indeed out. Look on the right hand side. There it is, flashing through the shot. So one more chance for these guys to make moves here. Up the inside goes Spike Colbecker past Rory Smith. It's going to be a real dance down towards the complex of Colonial. Smith locks up. Round the outside goes Jonathan Brown for fourth position. He gets through behind his teammate now. So Spike Colbecker's back up to third, as we said. Brown's back into fourth. Rory Smith is fifth. Jamie Thorburn is sixth. And it's all kicking off. And look at the gap that Ivan McCullough now has. Out of Fisherman up towards the chicane. And for the first time in a while in this race, on the last lap, Ivan McCullough has a bit of breathing space through the chicane for the final time. It's the hairpin that may decide it. Jonathan Brown to the inside of his teammate, who in turn is going for Ross Martin. Here they go. It is almost three abreast. Jonathan Brown on the inside. Both the Cliff Dempsey cars go either side of Ross Martin. Down towards the hairpin. Spot Colbecker in second place. Brown is third. Ross Martin still in fourth position. But incredibly, after taking the fight to all the national competitors, it is going to be Ivan McCullough who will win the final race of the weekend at Kirkistown. What a drive from Ivan McCullough. A brilliant performance. Rory Smith is frustrated at something missing out on a good result, but there's the confirmation. Ivan McCullough wins. Spike Colbecker second. Jonathan Brown third. And Smith, Thorburn, Heron, Martin down to seventh. But it's Sharp, McPherson and Quinn rounding out the top 10. Svensson and Burnley were last finishers, with Eastmore, Davison and Clark out of the race. What a weekend at Kirkistown.
Well, Ivor, that
still
was
2 weekends
a
left
brilliant
to go
defensive drive, a lesson
Formula
defensive
Fords.
driving, I think, there. You got to the front and you weren't letting them through.
Yeah, I think it was in the second lap. We got a big thump from the rear and a big thump from the front, and I knew whenever I got into the front, I'd just slow the pace down a bit and hold them behind. You know, like, I've been racing around here long enough now that I know where they have to go.
For a while, it was just Ross sort of on your tail, and you did look like maybe he was going to find a way through, but then you almost backed him up into the rest of the pack, and then he was under pressure as well.
Yeah, I don't think we just have enough pace at the minute, but I think there's something bent in the back of the car after the shunt, so I think if we had the car fixed again, we'll be ready to rock again for the next one.
Well, all of your experience around here clearly paid off, and well done on the win.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jonathan, third place, but I think you were second for a bit, you were sixth for a bit, you had every position apart from first.
Yeah, I know. I made way too many mistakes the first half of the race, and then it really cost me for the rest of it. And then I got run off track back to 7th, and then second last lap I got to 3rd. I don't know how on the last lap, so I made up 4 spots the last lap. So that was fun. But yeah, no, 3 podiums, you can't complain with that. So yeah, it was a good weekend.